There's a very bizarre physics flaw in Gran Turismo 7, and today I'll be showing you how you can use it to your advantage. At the end, I'll recap our findings and explain the best way to implement this in your own driving. Let's go. Big thanks to Dowdinator. It was his video on gaining free grip which led to me running this test and subsequently confirming his findings. Check his video on the card above and send him a fat thank you on our behalf. As you can see, we're back in our beloved Focus RS for this test. This is a spiritual successor to our How to Stop Spinning in Gran Turismo 7 video, so check the card above or link below if you've missed that. We're dealing with a single variable here today: wheel camber. Up until now, I've been tuning camber using real-life logic. That is, most GT race cars tend to run -3 degrees and beyond camber for track racing. This ensures greater contact patch during loaded turns, as well as more even tyre wear on the track. However, Gran Turismo's logic begs to differ. We'll be running two tests. In the first set of laps, I'll be using the same setup we had for our LSD test at Brands Hatch. In the second set of laps, I'll be neutralizing the camber far lower than I would ever consider running on a track based on the game's telemetry and then comparing the outcomes. Quickly, check that you're subscribed for more GT7 tutorials, and let's do this. In this first run, we'll be using the exact same setup that we used on our last Brands Hatch video, card above if you haven't caught that already. As you can see, nice and familiar setup through here, and all of these things which are going to be remaining largely the same between the two tests. So let's get straight to the laps and set a benchmark time. Right, much like our Brands Hatch run, we're starting this off with no TC, ABS at defaults, and I'm going to do several laps here until we establish a baseline. We're going to establish our consistency, and we're also going to establish what the quickest potential time is given my limited skill level anyway. So far I have to say just the default setup that I've got set up for Brands Hatch transports amazingly well here to Scuba. It just pivots in, it feels great to drive. Got to lift a little bit through here, otherwise the car just understeers out. Can't quite get enough aero on these hatches, unfortunately. If only I could lower it even more. I know you guys were complaining about me having this thing slammed last time, but I've tried raising it. Doesn't actually improve my lap times at all, so, you know, it is what it is. Not actually too bad at first lap, I don't think. Oh, don't go too wide. Okay, 55.8. Ah, she sounds good, doesn't she? Even with the artificial crackles in there. Just such an angry little car. The Ford Focus RS, after my little tune, has actually become one of my favorite road cars in the entire game. It's just so nice to drive. Even when you drive it weirdly. Such a pleasurable and responsive little car. So of course, in this car setup, we're using my usual approach, what I would normally use or expect to see on cars racing in real life. So between 3 and 4 degrees of camber. So far it feels about right to me. Poor braking aside. There's nothing I can quite criticize about the way the car handles, it feels pretty much correct. Again, I want to get several of these in, so we really get a nice aggregate. I want to get a telling best lap as well. Car gets a bit unstable there in that last corner. 55.8 again. That seems to be our ceiling so far. My kingdom for a load cell, as I was saying last time. A load cell brake would certainly up my consistency quite a bit. I'm of course still using the low-end Fanatec CSL pedals, which are fine. They're great entry-level pedals. It's just, you know, you certainly feel where they might limit you slightly. Okay. I've got to say, if nothing else, it's just fun. It is very fun to drive this track with this car. It's so really well balanced. It's so nice to drive. I'm really enjoying it. 55.9, so I think we've established our baseline already here. Come on, good run out, good run out. Okay, mid 55. I like it, I like it. This is our baseline. It seems to be that I consistently hover in the high 55s, mid 55 on a decent lap with not too many mistakes. So we're going to neutralize the camber now and see what kind of a difference, if any, that makes. So in this run, the operative thing we'll be changing is the negative camber. As you can see, we're still in the tuned balance. I'm going to switch it over to the tuned balance neutral. And the big thing is the negative camber is essentially halved from about, I think it was 3.6 down to 1.6, and from 3 in the rear down to 1.4. So one of the crazy things about this is you'll notice down in the rotational Gs that we're actually able to pull more G-forces at a given speed across the entire range, which is kind of the opposite of real life. One of the reasons that in real life race cars tend to run anywhere between about 3 to 4 degrees of camber, sometimes more than that, is because as the wheels are rotated in, as the car is under load mid-corner, as the car sways to the side, it actually rotates, and then the outside tires, more of the contact patch actually makes contact with the surface of the road, allowing the car to pull more lateral Gs and actually corner more efficiently, as well as evening out the tire wear over the course of a race. Now, GT7, for whatever reason, appears to disagree with this. But thanks to Dowdinator, we're going to check this out. Now we're going to go off their figures rather than going off common sense and seeing where we end up. One of the things I've had to do in order to even out the handling characteristics, because of course neutralizing the negative camber makes the car a bit more understeery in its nature, I've had to go down to braking sensitivity. I've had to make the car a little bit more pivoty under braking and while coasting, and of course if you look up at the front downforce, I've had to raise that ever so slightly so that at higher speeds the car actually bites down and actually turns into the corners. Now, you might suggest that yes, this might make a slight difference to its times and its handling characteristics, but it has to be done in order to even out the feel to the more aggressive negative camber. So, with all that said, let's get to the laps. Same settings as before, TC0, ABS on default, everything other than what I described just before, completely equivalent. Here we go, lap 1. Okay, so the very first thing that you can tell, and this was actually being shown on the readout, as well as getting better acceleration because the car's able to put down more power because more of the contact patch is in touch with the road surface, the braking performance is immediately notably better. I think my brake markers are about a meter behind where they normally are, which is absolutely wild. I'm going to brake mid down the green, absolutely fine. Well, maybe overshot it just a little bit. I'm going to blame that on the lack of load cells. That's my cop-out for these videos. My kingdom for some load cells. So for lap 1, that's not too bad. We can definitely refine this. I'm kind of curious what the time is going to be all the same. Now, the car definitely doesn't feel as pivoty. I'm having to manhandle it a bit more through the corners. Immediately, a mid-155 time, and that wasn't a less than stellar lap. I can brake notably later there on T1. Still trying to get used to our new brake markers. They're a lot more aggressive than they were. With the exception of this one, because there's so much turn-in required. But this one, no worries. Feels like a way cleaner line through there. Now I've just got to hook it in through the last corner, and we should be okay. Now, where's the brake point? I'm gonna try there, drop the gear. Not as much of a V shape as I wanted through there, but it's alright. We'll make it work. Come on. Oh, low 55. That is what we want. I still don't have the courage on T1. Or maybe I'm still like mystified about the time. So our beginning time is on par with the best time that we had after several laps of the other tune. And our current best time is getting close to half a second quicker. Not quite, maybe 3/10. Which, considering that a lap at Tsukuba for this car is just under 1 minute, is not nothing. You know, it's not nothing. I'm still amazed at how late I can brake in T1. Completely different to the original tune. The amount of lateral grip, or sorry, longitudinal grip that you get with this tune is insane. And that's kind of what you would expect in real life as well. The more neutral the camber, the easier it is to put power down, the easier it is to brake. It's just physics, basically. But normally, the increased negative camber makes up for that in a race. But GT7 would appear to disagree for whatever reason. The crazy thing about this is that this car is currently running less camber than my road car is. It's just kind of wild to think about. So even without particularly perfect laps, we're so far averaging around about half a second quicker than we were on the last tune. This is me doing some very imperfect laps through here. Because consistency is a part of this equation as well. It isn't just about a hot lap fest, it's about what can you do lap after lap after lap. And so far, for the same amount of effort, I'm getting a better return. So after 8 laps, we can generally say that our times are hovering in the low to mid 55s, which is quite impressive given that our slowest times are on par with the quickest lap I was able to get with the last tune. Well, that was a strange but highly repeatable phenomena. It seems that, unlike real life, in Gran Turismo 7, the ideal camber range is a lot lower. Our best laps came with less aggressive camber than I run on my real life road cars. Luckily, you can tune any car for its sweet spot by using the rotational G's readout. This is handy because Gran Turismo 7 doesn't have any way of measuring telemetry, at least that I'm aware of. As a result, I'm not really sure how to tune the dampers scientifically at this point, but after what I've uncovered regarding GT7's LSD and camber behaviors, I'm not really sure I even want to see the numbers. It's a good case in point, revealing that despite GT7 calling itself the quote-unquote real driving simulator, it's still a game first and foremost, which is absolutely fine because it's a hell of a game. Just, if you come into it as a sim racer, like I have, maybe recalibrate your expectations and don't assume because it works in real life, it's going to immediately work in the game. Subscribe for more tutorials as we dive deeper into the world of GT7 tuning. Grab yourself some sick merch and Fanatec gear, links below, to help support the channel. And until next time, I'll see you all later.